Hello, today we are going to talk about the KDE tutorial, which uses KTexteditor, KXML GUI, KIO, which allows us to discover the KDE frameworks. So we go there by kde.org, the top level menu, get involved, development, and then we search for tutorial. So there's KDE development tutorials, and it says basics of how to develop with the KDE frameworks, setting up, and then this is the first tutorial. There's more of those. The first one is named, let's look in the CMake file, Hello World. So let's create that. Ctrl V, OK. And it will use kMessageBox class. This is the API for it, so api.kde.org, kMessageBox from the KDE Framework, kwidgets add-ons. This is a class. Okay. And in order to search the KDE API or the Qt API, we can use keyrunner, or we can search on the respective sites, which is somewhere. So this is the way we search for KDE documentation in keyrunner. So KDE colon space message box, kMessageBox. It searches into KDE api.kde.org/search.html. Okay, if we want a Qt thing, the same thing, Alt F2, Qt colon space. The same thing can be obtained from the KDE Advanced Text Editor, which is Kate. Okay, go kMessageBox, Ctrl A, tools, external tools, search KDE API. Okay, and kMessageBox this, or a Q thing, Q string, tools, external tools, tools, search Qt API. The search on this site is not that great. The order of the results is strange. Should have navigated to here. Okay. So we can either get KDE Frameworks devel packages, so they include files, SO files, etc., using KDE-src, or from my Linux distribution, which is Ubuntu 22.04, so I need to install a bunch of -dev files. I'm using my distribution for now. So this is the first sample, the first tutorial. The tutorial is called Hello World. Let's start with a CMake file. So we should have a file named cmakelist.txt, Shift F4, Ctrl V. The content should be this. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, Ctrl S. So one executable named Hello World. It depends on these packages. So 3 from KDE Frameworks 5 and 2 from Qt. These. It will create Unix make file. There will be a make install target, a make target, targets for finding the dependencies. There's automock in here. There's extra CMake modules. From extra CMake modules we use include KDE install deals, include KDE CMake settings, include KDE compiler settings. Okay. The next thing to do is to follow the tutorial. So it says there's one file named main.cpp. This thing, Ctrl C, Shift F4, Ctrl V. This has this body, Ctrl C. So it includes one Qt class, which is Q application, and one KDE class, which is KMessageBox. It also uses the GUI item in order to set a non-default yes button. Okay. So for that, we're going, let's look at the documentation for KMessageBox question yes, no. Okay. The parameters are parent, so for making the message box model, we don't want to do that. Then the text inside of the message box, hello world. Then the title of the message box, which will be shown in the title bar. Then these are default parameters. One parameter, we don't pass the default value, we pass a custom value, which is the yes button, which has this so we want a constructor with 4 parameters, which is probably this. So a text, which is going to be shown in the button, a icon name, which is the empty queue-string, the null queue-string, and then a tooltip, and then a what's this. So if we're passing a custom yes button, if we would not pass a custom yes button, then a standard yes button would be shown by default. So this parameter is optional, and even the title parameter is optional. If we don't specify a title, the title will be the name of the application. If you do specify a title, the name of the title will be what you specify, then a minus, and then the name of the application. Okay. Let's run all of these. So this is a ternary operator. If this returns yes, then we return X status 0, otherwise we return another X status. Okay. Let's improve our let's build this thing. So for building, we're using a command line like this. We want a terminal. So in here, then mkdir -p build and cd build, and then CMake dot and then make, and then / hello world. Okay, so this is the message box. On hover we have the tooltip. On right click we have the what's this. On shift F1 we have the what's this. We can close it in various ways, like close, close, right click close, Alt F4 in all of these situations, when I don't press the hello button, the message box will return no. If I press the hello button, then it will return yes. Okay. What's that? Bash echo exit status dollar question mark. So it returns 0. If I press Alt F4, it will return 1. So a non-zero exit status, which is exit failure, is probably defined to 1, and exit success is defined as 0. So this is how we use just a plain text editor and just a command line to build. So the command line is this one, mkdir-p builds, and then cd build, and then the CMake dot. So that's the parent directory. Inside of the build directory is empty. There's no CMake list.txt file, so it needs to find the CMake list.txt file from the parent directory, and then it runs gnu make, and then it executes the executable. It starts the process. Okay. Let's use an ID from now on. So let's use Qt Creator. File, open file or project. This thing, Ctrl A, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, CMake lists. Okay, what's this? Ported kit, what is this? Debug? Yes. Oh. Okay, hello world, main.cpp. We can now go to definition. So just inside the H files, the header files, the include files. Okay, Ctrl W. Question yes, no returns a button code. Button code is an enum. Okay. If the returned enum is yes, which is 1, yes, which is 3. Okay. Then it shows exit success, which is defined as 0 in stdlib.h, which is in /usr/include/stdlib.h. Exit failure is defined as 1. Okay. This is the new null qstring, this thing, which returns a shared null. So the null qstring, not the empty qstring. Okay. The constructor with 4 things with icon name, this guy. We don't have the body to it. So why don't we have the body to it? Because we don't have the CPP files for Qt and frameworks, or for KDE Frameworks version 5, because we didn't build these using KDE src-build. Okay. Let's do a git commit with these things. So git init here, git GUI. Okay, it shows a ton of things that files that should not be committed. So for that we're using the git ignore for CMake, which takes us to the official webpage, which is github.com/github/gitignore/blob/main/cmake.gitignore. We downloaded this file as .gitignore. Did this in a previous step. Control V, and it looks like this. So I say start off and this URL, then I paste the contents. So these contents, and then I have project specific. I don't want a build directory, which contains a ton of junk. Here is scan, git ignore, CMake lists as it exists in the tutorial, the main.cpp in the first step of the tutorial. Initial commit is always the git commit message of the first git commit. Okay. What else? Then we enable internationalization, which means translating in other languages than English, and about data, which is used for the command line arguments --help, --author, --version, and for the about box, which is this thing. Okay, so we have Q application. After that, we need to paste these things. Control S, and then we have GUI item and the ternary. Control S. I'm not sure why I started Kate, because I'm using Qt Creator ID now. Okay, let's unindent this. And this. Control S. So it declares a key about data structure, which has a ton of Qt properties. Okay, so we're setting values in those various properties. So the name of the application as name of the application as a human readable string, the version of the application, short description of the application, license. This is GPL2 in fact, only. Copyright, other additional information for the about box, the official URL of the web page of this application, the email address where to report bugs, an author which is named name, which has author role, which has this email address, the website of the author, and the OCS username of the author. Then we're setting this application about data. It's actually set inside of the app, if I remember correctly. Okay, Control X does not work to delete lines, which is a problem. Control S. Okay, let's compile this thing. So we want kits. It says hello world, imported kit, debug. Okay, let's build this thing. Did it run CMake? Where is the output? Okay, So it says that we should require CMake 3.16. So we can do this if we want. To fix a build warning, Ctrl S. Okay. So this is it runs CMake. CMake is similar to ./configure step in GNU tools. And then it has created makefiles in this directory. Let's look at this directory. So it has created a top-level makefile, which is named makefile, with many CMake targets. There's one for tests, for make install, for clean, for rebuilding, make uninstall, for dependencies, for automock, for min.cpp. This is make help. Okay, and this file is auto-generated by CMake, so no need to edit this file. Edit CMake list.txt and run CMake.auto again. Okay. And now we can compile. So the build project hello world, Ctrl B. And we can run the generated executable. Okay. And we can even debug. The debugger doesn't do much, because we can't step into the source code that's not mine. So I can't step into Qt source code or into KDE source code, because I'm using the devel packages from my Linux distribution. I did not build KDE and Qt from scratch using KDE src-build. So F11 step into doesn't work. It can step into the bodies of things that are defined inside of H files, such as templates, C++ templates. So this is the body of a method that's defined inside of an H file, localized string.h. So we can navigate to H files, but not to CPP files. Okay. And there's visualization for QStrings. Okay, the yes button. Everything's hidden in the D private. Okay, so it returns what it returns. Okay. What else can we do? Press escape. Okay, so this is the second version of the executable. Now, if we run from the command line, this thing, so it can't be run with a simple name, just hello world, because it's not found, it's not part of the path environment variable. So it's not in any of these directories, so that's why we need to specify a path for it. So we're specifying a relative path, this directory, which means dot, and then slash hello world, and even auto completion works correctly now in bash. This is the application. It has it doesn't have a command line interpreter with that it doesn't interpret the parameter ---- help. Okay, so that would be the next thing to do. So we've added about data and translation domain. So n, this function will take this string and try to translate it from this domain. If the translation for this domain does not exist, or if translation for this string does not exist, or if translation for the current language does not exist, then it will just return the string that's given to the function. Okay. Next, commit. This is the second version of the tutorial. And we have even a third version where we add two command line parsers such that it can interpret ---- help, ---- version, ---- author command line parameters. Okay. So we have a Q application, K message box, K about data, K localized string. We add the include file for Q command line parser. These things are the same. After set application data 1 and before the yes button, we need to add this block. Control V, Control S. Okay, it says we're inside a debugger. Let's stop the debugger. Let's rebuild. Okay. And now let's try again to run from the command line. So this thing with the parameter help. So it shows, now it knows command line arguments. It didn't show the message box. It showed the usage, message, and now we can see that there's a version command line argument which says tutorial 1 and 1.0. So this is tutorial 1 and this is tutorial 1 and this is version 1.0. And there's also an author command line parameter which says it's written by name and your email address. So author, name, and your email address. Okay, Control S. Let's git commit again. Copy, paste, add Q command line parser. So it looks like this. We've added the include file and a block for Q command line parser. But we need to tell Q command line parser what's the name of the author and what's the email of the author. For that, we're using about data set command line, setup command line, and about data process command line. Q command line parser process the app. Okay, so one KDE class calls a Qt class and one Qt class calls a KDE class, so they're siblings like that. Commit. Okay, that's it. we know how to build. We need to create a CMake list text.txt file. We don't know what to put in here, so we copy an existing CMake list txt file from an existing project that's similar to ours, or we're using a wizard from an IDE such as this. So Qt creator, new project, application Qt widget application, and then you choose CMake as the build technology. Cancel. Okay. So we make and run, mkdir -p to create the directory if it doesn't exist, otherwise don't exit with an error. If successful, then cd change directory to the build directory. If successful, cmake ... if successful, make. If successful, run hello world. Okay, that's it. Next. Okay, so what's the name of this tutorial? Again, we look in the CMake lists.txt file. It's named main window, so I created this directory. Let's create it from scratch. Shift F6. Doesn't work like that. F2, F7. So this is the name, main window. Ctrl V, enter. Okay. Let's start with the CMake lists file. Shift F4. I don't know the name of the file with this strange capitalization. Ctrl V. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, trailing new line, Ctrl S. Okay, so this thing does not build because it needs a main.cpp and the main window.cpp file. Okay, let's look at these files. So we're using the class KXML GUI window, which inherits from KMain window, which inherits from QMain window, which inherits from QWidget, which inherits from QObject. These will create a application window, so a window which is a main window, which can have a main title bar, a status bar, a body, has a help main menu auto-populated, and can optionally use XML file to declare declaratively the hierarchy of widgets GUI controls, so which is parent of which control, and to set names for the controls and other properties for the GUI controls. So GUI controls being Qt widgets. Okay, so for that we need to create a class that inherits from KXML GUI window. We're creating the H file first. Ctrl V, trailing new line. So we inherit from KXML GUI window, and our class is named main window. Okay, in there we will have a KTextEdit, which is a text, multi-line text edit from KDE, not from Qt. Okay, so it's from KDE, KTextEdit, and inherits from QTextEdit, which is a scrollable edit box multi-line from Qt. Okay, the next thing is the next file that we need is main window.cpp. Ctrl C, Shift F4, Ctrl B, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, Ctrl S. Okay, so in the constructor we call the constructor of KTextEdit, so a new Qt widget of type KTextEdit is created, allocated on the heap, not on the stack. And we call the set central widget of this object. So similar to this thing. Okay. And this. To make the body of the window be the text edit. Okay, and then this setup we call the inherited constructor in the constructor of our class. S. And then we need another file which is called main.cpp. Shift F4, Ctrl V, main.cpp, which is the previous file, but instead of hello world 1 is main window, instead of hello world is main window, same version. The copyright here is not 2022 but 2021, it's 2015. The same author, the same command line parser. The 3 lines that are new are these things. Okay. How do we select just this text? Copy, paste, Ctrl S, there's a trailing new line. Okay, I still don't like the indentation. Ctrl S. What else? So that's it. Okay. Let's open this thing with Qt Creator. So we start Qt Creator. We copy the directory. File, open file or project, paste and select CMake lists. It asks us what do we want to do. So we want to create another directory which is called build, which is called main window, the name of the project. Imported kit temporary debug. No. We want this thing. So we want to create a new build configuration called debug in this directory. So we go configure project. It's open the CMake list.txt project. It has configured the kit, which is the imported kit, build configuration debug, what to run, so the CMake target to run, which is main window. So now we can do everything. First thing to do is to build. It worked. Now we can run. Where is the application output? So it ran the correct executable. This really long directory name and then main window. And KDE Frameworks XML GUI says that there's no main window UI-.rc file. So there's no XML file where we declaratively state the structure of Qt widgets. So that inside of a widget of type window, there's a widget of type main menu, and there's a widget of type status bar, etc. And inside of this XML file, we can also set the names and properties of the various controls. So we don't have such a file. Okay. Then the debugger dot debug. Okay, it works. Let's stop the debugger. escape. So go to definition of Q application, go to definition of K about data, go to definition of Q command line parser, go to definition of main window. So main window inherits from KXML GUI window. Okay. Right click, switch header source F4. We call inside of the constructor of our class the constructor of the parent class. There's set central widget, which is inherited from Q main widget, and setup GUI, which is a method from KXML GUI windows from this class. This method is from this class, and this method is from Q widget, which is the base class for all of the Qt widgets. So not Qt QML, Qt Quick, but Qt widget. Okay. We have access to the H files where we have the definitions of the methods and classes. Okay. What else can we do? So again, CMake lists is a bit of TXT is a bit of magic. This is what it is. You need to learn by heart or copy from a tutorial or from a similar application or use a ID widget, a ID wizard to create the CMake file, or there's editors for the CMake lists file from Visual Studio Code or from Qt Creator. Okay, with auto completion and etc. So how do we read the CMake lists file? We read that the name of the project is main window, that the executable is called main window. This needs main windows srcc, which is an array of main.cpp and main window.cpp. And these two files exist on the hard disk, these two. And at link time, there will be the need for these SO files. So these KF5 text widgets, KF5 XML GUI, KF5 internationalization, KF5 core add-ons, Qt 5 widgets, and the rest are probably dependencies needed by these packages. Okay, so it uses CMake packages, so files with the extension CMake or these things. Okay. So there's a file core add-ons.cmake on the hard disk. Let's find this. So somewhere under /usr. Okay, so the file is called kf5 core add-ons .cmake. And it's in /usr/lib, the triplet /cmake kf5 core add-ons. And here are the other CMake packages. So for all of the KDE things, KF5, these are KDAB things, and the Qt things are in another place. Oh no, in here. Okay. Interesting. So there's Qt 6 on my system and Qt 5. Okay. My minimum versions for Qt for KDE Frameworks version 5. This is the ECM block, extra CMake module, so a KDE Git repository. Minimum CMake required version. And that's about it. Let's do a git commit. Init here. Git GUI. This file should not be tracked by Git. So for that we use the previously created git ignore file, which looks like this. So it's just we pasted the content of this file and then we ignore the /build directory. Fortunately, Qt Creator builds outside of the git clone directory. So it builds in here, main window, imported git, this thing. Okay, rescan, git ignore. Yes. CMake lists, yes. Main window, H and CPP. Initial commit, because we don't have any other commits. Okay. So we can compile and run with this long command line. Then we need some actions, or let's just a second, let's run the thing. So the application looks like this, the application looks like this. Run you. Okay, so it has a status bar which is empty, has a main menu bar which has a help item pre-populated. About main window is has information from KAboutData, the class that we have inside main.cpp. Here is the author. Here are the frameworks. These are computed by KDE Frameworks. So it's XCB, not Wayland. This is some additional text. This is the URL. The fact that the license is GPL version 2. So this thing, license GPL version 2. Copyright 2015. The URL, etc. Okay, and in settings we have no toolbars yet, and no other languages yet. We can have shortcuts for everything that's inside the main menu for these items, and we can hide the status bar, and we can exit the application. Okay, so next we want to use actions. So for that, what is the CMake file? So it's the text editor. Okay. So we need a new directory. Control C, F7, Control V, text editor. Okay. Okay, so QAction is used as the thing to do when you click on a button in the toolbar or on an item from the menu or from a context menu. Okay, so for instance, we could have edit select all to select all of the text in the text edit box. Okay, Q action looks like this. Okay, so we've created a text editor. We are going to use a RC file, so an XML file. Okay, so it says that we should take main.cpp from the previous project. Which is main window, main.cpp, Ctrl V, and edit it such that instead of main in window says text editor. Ctrl Ctrl R, tab, text editor. Replace once and twice. Ctrl S. Okay. Then we need a new file which is called mainwindow.h, which is similar to what we had previously. And in there, there's the include guards, which we had previously. There's the private member variable of type KTextEdit, which we had previously. There's the constructor, which we had previously. These setup actions we did not have previously. So Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and really new, and Ctrl S. Okay, so only this void setup actions definition of a method, of private method was added. Okay, main window. .cpp, Shift F4, Ctrl V. So it has the constructor, it has set central area, and it has a new thing which is setup actions. Okay, let's copy this thing. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, copy, Ctrl A, Ctrl V. Right click, copy, Ctrl A, Ctrl V. Okay, so we use Q application for the main message loop. We use Q action, which is the action for the clear document new, so file new, and maybe a file new main toolbar button. It has the internationalized text clear with accelerator Alt-C. Uses the pre-existing icon document new. Shortcuts Ctrl-W. So Ctrl-W closes tabs. Interesting. And says clear action is connected to text area. Text area is a KTextEdit, which is a GUI control for the multi-line text editor, and that already has an implementation for clear. And it says when the clear action is triggered, either by clicking or by pressing Ctrl W or by using the accelerator Alt C, etc., etc., it will call this method will be called. So text area objects method clear. And when we quit the application, core application quit will be called, and the GUI will be taken from the text editor UI RC file, which is an XML file. Ctrl S. Okay. So it explains the newly added command line. So there's an include Q action. There's a constructing on the heap of a Q action, which is part of this. This is the parent of the Q action. So when this will be destroyed, the destructor of this will be called. Memory will be freed. Okay, we set the text of the action. We set the icon of the action. We set the accelerator, so Alt-C, and this action is visible in the menu. Icon is document new. Shortcut Ctrl-W. It's added. The clear action is added to the what's called an action collection. Okay, and then we do this connecting. This is Qt style connecting of slots and I don't know. Signals. So it connects signals and slots. A signal is emitted by, for instance, when you click on a button, a signal will be emitted. And the slot could be a method on an object. So when you click on the button, the signal is emitted, and then that's connected to a slot, which is a method on an object. So that method on the object is called. And the method could have any signature, not a problem, because passing the who triggered the action, so the object that raised the signal, and what type of signal are passed via global variables. So it's available in the method, which is a slot in the second object. Okay, and the syntax is this connect, which is magic, and will be interpreted by the Qt mock, the mock executable. Okay. Case standard action. Quit, save, load, pre-create convenience queue actions, accessible through case standard action. Very simple to use. We say case standard action quit when we quit the app. Then we call queue core application quit, and we use the existing collection of items, of actions, which also contains clear action. So we call queue application quit whenever case standard quit action quit is triggered. There's a queue up macro. Global pointer referring to the unique application object, equivalent to queue core application instance or singleton thing. Okay. Case in action, correct item, text, shortcut, which is the accelerator, and shortcut even adds it to the file menu. Okay, so we have the action, but we did not say create a toolbar item, show the toolbar item, and when you, this toolbar item, this toolbar button is in fact that Qt action. So using the Qt technology called KXML GUI, The help menu is standardized by KDE. Show about application in K help menu. We don't want to do that. Set up GUI function from KXML GUI window. So parses the XML, the description of the user GUI, and it will create CPP files from this using generators, code generators. So the name should be appname UI.rc, which is in our case the name of the app is texteditor, then UI, then RC, Ctrl C, Shift F4, Ctrl V. Let's paste the content. Okay, so it says GUI. The name is text editor, XML namespaces, and then it says it has a main bar and a toolbar, a status bar. It has a status bar already, it has a main control already. So inside of the main menu of the application there should be a file item, and under that there should be a clear item, and there's another top level menu item which is called another menu with accelerator Alt N with the action clear, and then there's a main toolbar with a text main toolbar and just one action clear. Okay. There's a cache system, so we should increment the version from version 1 to 2, 3, etc. each time we make install, and then we change the source code of this file. Otherwise it can be served from the system cache. So an integer, not a float, not a string. Menus appear automatically, should have a text child. If the menu item is not standard, if it's standard, it should state the name of that standard main menu item, which is file. Otherwise, it needs to have a text child XML element. You can hide or disable actions, but not menus. When you disable an action, it's disabled both in the menu and in the toolbar. So we need to put the RC file somewhere for the application to find it, because we're not including the RC file in the executable, in the text editor executable. So it's just a file that sits besides the RC file, or sits in a directory where text editor executable knows where to look for it. So the text editor UI RC file. Okay. So it says install the file text editor UI RC into the destination with the name text editor. So almost identical with the previous tutorial. 2 extra lines at the end to describe where we install. Let's see how that works. Let's get the gitignore file. Ctrl V. We don't have yet a CMake list txt file. Let's create it. Ctrl C. Shift F4, Ctrl V. Ctrl C, Ctrl V, new line, Ctrl S. Okay, so we had this previously, we had this block previously, we had this block previously, we had these previously, we had these previously, this is new, config widgets, and this is new. This probably existed previously. So installing both texteditor and texteditor UI.rc file, Ctrl S. Okay. Let's run quickly using Qt through it. Copy the name of the directory, file, open file or project, Ctrl V, down, enter, maximize, manage, where are you? Details. We're not importing everything. Details. So we want just the debug build configuration. Configure project that runs. Okay, let me see the output of what happened. So this has run /configure. This is the name of the intermediate CMake directory. It has found KF5 config widgets. We go build. We need to go make install probably. Let's go run. So it didn't find the RC file because there's no main toolbar. And it says cannot find the RC file for component text editor. Okay, let's run a bit to the source code. So the same internationalization, okay, about data, constructing the main window. And this is the new thing, which is setup actions. There's a clear action. There's a queue action constructor, which has the parent object for instruction purposes. So it's allocated on the heap and will be okay. So clears queue action set text, queue action set icon, queue icon from theme, the queue string as name, document minus new, action collection, key action collection, set default shortcut, queue action and queue key sequence. This is the key sequence, add action, queue string name and the queue action. Okay. So what we want to do now is to run make install. Hopefully not, because make install will install it on the system in /usr, which we totally do not want. do we do that? Make install. Okay. Let's run it without... Oh, it tells us how to do it. Great. Trickiest part, the texteditor UI is important. Okay, so we need to have a directory which is called local-kde. So let's have one which is in this directory. F7, Control V. Let's copy this directory, Control C, Kate, paste, Control C, Control V. Okay, and let's do it. Text editor. Mkdir build. Let's make do with -p. This thing should be this or this. Okay. Paste. Okay, it says install the project, which is make install output. Install configuration. So bin text editor and share XML GUI text editor. Okay. Let's look at this. So this is similar to /usr/local. So there's a bin directory in here with the executable and a shared directory with kxml GUI 5 text editor UI.rc. Okay, so that's in here is specified that there should be a directory text editor, which is this directory, and the kxml GUI 5 dir, which is probably defined in ECMake/CMake modules in KDE install dirs. Okay, so everything worked correctly. Now it has created a prefix file. Let's go there. So inside of build, there should be a prefix.sh file, which prepends the bin directory to path, prepends share to xdg data dirs. Okay, so let's try this. Okay, source. Not here. Let's not pull this thing. Control Shift D, CD. This directory. Source. Prefix. So this just sets some environment variables. How many are they? So it sets path. It added the bin directory at the start of the path. It added QML import path. Again, it prepends my directory. Qt plugin path, this. Qt quick control style, this, etc. Okay, so now that the path environment variable has the bin directory where I install the application, which is this directory. The application is named text editor. It has found the text editor in the correct directory inside of path environment variable, and now we can run it. Okay, it did not complain that it could not find the RC file. It found the RC file because I can see a main menu, a main toolbar. I can see in the main menu this another menu item, which is so when the text editor UI RC file could not be found, this menu item did not exist, another menu, because it's defined in here. So it's a menu that's not default, it's not file, it has a text, another menu, and it has a child, which is the action clear, this thing, which has this file new icon and the Ctrl W. And when you disable the action will be disabled here, here, and here, so in 3 places at once. Okay, and now we have more in the main menu. In settings, we also have the show toolbar, besides show status bar, which existed by default. And we can configure toolbars. We can put other actions besides clear in the main toolbar. Okay, so file clear, menu clear, or just clicking on clear. We set something in the edit box, and then we press the action clear from one of the 3 places, and it clears the text box. How does it clear the text box? Where are you? Because when you click on the clear action triggered, so when the action is triggered, then text area, which is key text edit, calls the text area object, calls its clear method. Okay. Git init here. Git UI. Git ignore, CMake lists. So setup action. Initial commit. Okay. We don't want to make install under /usr because that will require sudo or root. So you need to be a super user. Okay. We have found this file. We have run this. XDG data tiers. Okay, saving and loading. Let's do this. So again, we go down to the CMake lists, and it's called text editor again. It's good because it means that it's the same project as the previous one. Okay, so let's see how we change the existing version of the project to get here. So we have the KDE framework for input output, so files HTTPS, download, etc. Network transparent protocols. Standard file dialogs for opening and saving files. Main.cpp stays the same. It just instantiates our class, it shows it, and then waits forever in the Qt main loop. Okay, main window.h. So we keep the include guards. We now need a kjob. Okay, the same thing. QObject. This is a common build warning when you don't have Q object. Okay, public explicit constructor, private, and it put the private data members at the end and the private methods. Ctrl C, Ctrl V. Ctrl X. Okay, Ctrl S. So private setup actions and then save file to disk with the file name. Ctrl S. And there's slots. What are slots? So signals are from the sender object and slots are from the methods of the receiver object. Okay. And we need a toString for the file name. Ctrl S, Ctrl X, Ctrl S. Okay, this seems to be it. We're using Qt's signal slot mechanism. Okay. Since we're using slots, we must add the QObject macro. Must appear in private section of a class definition that declares all signals. Okay, so QObject macro must appear in the private section of a class. Declares its own signals like this. So signals, this is a keyword, not a C++ one, but a Qt framework one. Or that uses other services provided by Qt's meta object system. So if you have public slots, like in this case, if you have signals, like in this case, you need to use the QObject macro. The class should be a subclass of QObject. You need QGadget instead of QObject. If you want enums and your class is not does not inherit from QObject. Okay. What else? We want to keep track of the file name, so we have a QString local private member. Okay, that's the main window.cpp file, main window.h file, and now the main window.cpp file. Include QWindow, QAction, QSave file. qsave file, qfile dialog, qtext stream, qbyte array, kTextedit, klocalized string, kaction collection, kstandard action, kmessage box, and kio job. Okay. Then we include so our own includes in the third block. In the first block, Qt framework includes. In the second block, KDE Frameworks includes. Okay, main window, Q window. So it also sets the value of the private member to the null string, Q string. Okay, text area, new text area, set central widget, setup actions. And now we have more actions. So there's the clear action, which is this block, and where's the case standard quit action? It's this one, and then we have other case standard actions. Control V. So case standard actions for quit, open, save as, open new, main window open, main window save, main window save file as, main window new, put all of those in the action collection, and then use the same UI file, which is the name of the executable, then UI, then dot, then RC. Okay, and what is save file to disk? Is a method that we have added to the object, a private method. Okay. Control C, Control V. What is save file as? Save file, open file. These are all members of main window. So there's open file, save file as. And there's new file. Where is new file? Here, this thing. So let's group them together. New file, save file as, open file, Control C. Okay, so 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This thing is predefined in this class. And there's just one more thing, which is this private qslot method, download finished. Control C, Control V, Control Z, V, Control S. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. Okay, it looks okay. We do not need to add anything because we're using just case standard action, and that will automatically populate the main menu. we're just editing the file item in the application's main menu. Open save, save as, open new. These are all in the main menu of the application under file. Okay, and then it just explains the changes. And the CMake list is not the same because it adds KIO. Let's edit the CMake list txt file, and then we'll get back to what we actually did inside of main window.cpp. Okay, so these are what existed before. The ECM block is the same. The Qt5 block is the same. The KF5 block is not the same. So core add-ons, internationalization, XML GUI, text widgets, config widgets, and then these two things. Okay. Then feature summary the same list of two CPP files, same executable. The target link libraries is different, so widgets, core add-ons, internationalization, XML GUI, text widgets, config widgets, and these two. Widgets, add-ons, and 4K message box, and Kio core for KIO. Okay, the make install is identical. Okay, and we need to do the same thing that we did before. So let's close the text editor and get back to the line where we had lost that line. This thing. Okay, so let's prepare the command line again. Let's delete the build directory. If delete. Okay, make the directory. Okay, the CMake with the correct CMake install prefix. Okay, and then make install. Okay, Ctrl-Shift-T, CD, change to the build directory, Ctrl-C, paste, source prefix. Okay, and then text editor. Okay, so the file menu now has new, open, save, save as. These are standard. We have added our own action, which is not standard, which is clear. This is our action. These three are standard actions. They are shown in a block. There's a separator between our own action. This is our main menu item, another menu. This is our action. Show status bar, show toolbar. This is a context menu for the toolbar. There's one context menu for the toolbar and one context menu for toolbar item. Lock toolbar positions. Icon size. Show text save. Okay, so let's see. We're editing some text. We're cleaning it up. Saving it. a.txt. We're cleaning it up. We're opening an existing file. Double click on it. So save as, clear, open, and new work correctly. Okay. Now we just need to explain what the added methods in main window.cpp do. So for that, let's use again Qt Creator. Okay. File, open, file or project. Ctrl A, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, CMake list, open, hot build. Okay, and it was already configured from the previous time. Let's configure it again. Okay, so imported key temporary. What is this? Not manage. Details. Debug. Configure project. Okay, so the correct kit, correct build configuration, correct CMake target to run, text editor, source files, main.cpp is the same from the previous tutorial, and then main window.cpp has changed in the sense that now we are setting up the standard icons. We don't need to talk about this because they do standard things. So they appear in the correct group in the main toolbar, they appear in the correct place in the main menu, so under the file item. They have the correct separators between them, correct icon, correct text, accelerator, shortcut, internationalization, everything. Okay, but then these actions, these methods are written from scratch. So what do we do with new file? So if you click on file new, what do we do? So it says file name clear, which is the member variable that we have of type QString for the path of the file that we have collected using file open as dialog. So there should be no file opened, and then we clear the text area. Okay, which is the same thing that we did in here. So text area minus greater than clear. On file save as, we do save file to disk, and then we use a built-in to Qt Framework file dialog, the file save as dialog, which has a method get save file name, this, which is the parent, and then a title, and has probably more parameters for the types of files that are allowed, which is a filter.